Today on Conversations That Convert, so we're going to be talking about HC Habitation and their case study. They're a builder in Quebec, Montreal, and we'll be talking about growing sales and profits in a stagnant market.
Welcome to Conversations That Convert. Every week, we'll spend about 10 to 15 minutes tackling relevant lead generation, marketing, and sales topics for remodelers, home improvement companies, and home builders. Conversations That Convert is brought to you by Builder Lead Converter, your perfect sales assistant. And now, here's Rick and Diana.
Hey, welcome everyone. Diana is off today, but we do have a very special guest. I would like to introduce Michael and Vanessa from HC Habitation. Michael and Vanessa, welcome, and thanks for joining us on Conversations That Convert.
Thank you, Rick. It's our pleasure.
Yeah, wonderful. Well, we are going to walk through in the next 45, maybe 50, 55 minutes here, a case study on your company. So congratulations. We're going to dissect you and being very open and transparent. You know, what is going well for you guys, some things that you have struggled with. And also what the future looks like for you. So let's start right away and talk about your background, HC Habitation. And I think the first thing that comes to mind is it's a unique name for a home builder, HC Habitation. So what's the meaning behind it?
So the basics of it is habitation is actually French, because here in Quebec is majority French. So it's habitation. And the HC, it's really nothing very spectacular. Our dogs' names were Hemi and Kuda. And we were honestly looking for a name and couldn't figure it out. So we were like, oh, Hemi and Kuda. We didn't have kids at the time. Very non-creative. H, Hemi, C, Kuda, HC Habitation.
And then it stuck.
Oh, I love it. That's great. Because you think of like, oh, there's some sort of like spectacular meaning behind the name. It's like, well, no, it was our dogs.
Yeah.
Well, very good. So yeah, so you mentioned you are in Quebec, Montreal. And give us a little background on your market. How big is Quebec, and kind of the size of your service area?
So we work in the greater Montreal area. Now, Quebec itself, I think there's population maybe around 8 million or so, but it's an enormous province. So most of the population is really concentrated around Montreal, and I think the population is probably around somewhere in the 3 to 4 million range. So there's obviously lots of potential clients here. There's still land and room to expand. So that's definitely the area that we concentrate in, just because getting spread too thin is not good for anyone.
And I think I noticed on your website, you roughly 40-kilometer radius around Montreal.
Yeah, pretty much.
So that would convert to.
Yeah, so that probably would encompass most of the 3 million people that lives there. Yeah, so it's a big market that you have. Okay, yeah, very good. So, and then tell us, when did you start the company?
We started officially in 2017. We built our first home in 2018. Prior to that, we actually had a partnership. So we did have the company before that. We really started in 2011 about. Excuse me, we had a partnership up until 2017, and then we went out on our own after that.
Okay, and you were building homes in that partnership as well?
Yes, new homes.
You were, okay. All right, great. And so 2018 is 2023 right now, so you're going into your 5th year? Yep, okay, fantastic. And how did you happen to end up in this business?
That's an interesting story, actually. I grew up in a family business, and they were subcontractors in fire protection, so sprinkler systems. So that's actually what I was trained in, and that's what I had worked in as soon as I finished up in high school. But then a friend of mine was building his own family home, and kind of his family had some experience in it as well. So I just helped him out for the summer, and I absolutely fell in love with it. So it kind of just snowballed from there. We're like, okay, let's build a house together. Let's see if we can actually sell it. And then, okay, let's make it official. Let's get a license. Let's get, everything that we need to go. And that's kind of how it all fell together.
Well, that's very interesting. And in Quebec, are fire suppression systems or sprinkler systems, are they required in single family homes?
No, they are not. Certain municipalities, they'll require it, but pretty much nowhere.
Okay. Yeah, that's an expensive endeavor if that's the case. That adds a lot of cost. Yeah, so tell us a little bit about the company right now. 5 years into it, what does your structure look like?
I mean, right now we have 5 employees. So we started from 2, 3, and then we added to that. We have 2 site supers. So they really take care of everything that is on site to make sure that the trades are there and everything is being produced on time and according to schedule and correctly, of course. We have a project coordinator. So she will take the project once the sales are done, hand it over to her, and she kind of she'll do the POs and send out all the information to our site supers. So she's the liaison from the sales to the site supers.
So you started with how many? Is this you guys? I'm assuming when you started the company, and then how did you add those employees over the last 5 years?
So the way that actually grew is the first employee of the company was neither of us actually. We went, I think, the first year and a half with 0 salaries. So whether that's a great decision or not, it is what it is. And we're here today. But our first employee was actually the site superintendent that we had from the previous partnership. So he came over, he joined the team. So he's the longest standing employee right now. And then just slowly with more demand and more home sites going, that's when we hired a second site superintendent. Then we hired a project coordinator from that point. We've recently hired a virtual assistant as well. So that's helping out with some accounting and admin stuff. And then, we have goals for some future hires from there.
Okay, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. So let's break down your roles and responsibilities. So Michael, let's start with you.
So I'm chiefly in charge of the sales and kind of the direction of the company. So I'm kind of the fallback when things aren't going good, before it falls back to Vanessa when stuff's really not going good. But I'll handle most of the sales, most of the leads, most of those initial contacts with the clients, and trying to get us to the point of a signature on those contracts to put them into production where we send it out to the team. I'm still obviously a liaison for everyone that is on the team during the production. And I also try to, implement things as we go. So I'm trying to work on the business a little more than just working in the business.
Yeah, very smart. Very smart. So Vanessa, your role?
I don't even know. Too many roles, let's just say. I'm initially in charge of the marketing, anything that has to do with social media marketing, posts, a website, etc. When I need to, I also have a legal hat that I go put on and talk to lawyers, and that's not always fun, but it is what it is. I also kind of do a bit of HR because for the moment it is what it is.
All the HR.
Yeah, well, all the HR. So I'll, manage all the little things that come with employees. And that would be kind of, I guess, everything that I do. I do love marketing the most. I do not like HR and I do not like any of that other stuff, but it is what it is and you got to do what you got to do. So
yeah, exactly right. Small company, you wear many hats. And do you ever dive in and help out Michael with sales? Like, are you ever responding to leads, or is that typically?
I do respond to leads. Yeah. I will respond to them when they come in, especially in French, because the AI does not respond in French. So I will go in and respond to them. Same thing with English. I'll give some information, try to book in some appointments if the AI is not taking over. Yeah.
Okay. And we'll talk a little bit more about that AI here in a second. So 2022 sales revenue, what did you guys end up with last year?
So in 2022, our sales revenue was 8 million Canadian.
Okay.
So that's probably like quite a bit less in US dollars, but it was
$3.
Yeah, exactly. It was 8 million Canadian last year, and we had built 17 homes. So average was around $475 per home.
Per home, okay. And does that include land, or is that home only?
So some of those did include land. I think we had 2 homes where the land was included, but principally most of our homes are custom homes for clients on their own lots.
On their lot, okay. And when you do include land, I think you have some land you're working through right now. Is that right, that you're selling through?
Yes, exactly. So we have 2 lots right now. That one's kind of a model home. The other one's a bit of a spec. So kind of a little bit on both, but we don't want to really overextend ourselves too much into that department.
Yeah, for sure. And are you able to make margin on your land that you're selling?
Yes.
Not very much, no.
The ones that we're doing right now, we didn't sell yet though. So we'll see if we make margin on that one. That's the goal.
Determined.
Yeah, exactly.
To anyway.
Yeah.
We attempt to. Okay, yeah. And so 8 million last year, projections for 2023.
So projections for 2023, we're actually going to be slightly less. So we're probably only at the maybe 6.5 range. Now, one of the reasons for that is last year we kind of had in our first quarter, we had a really, really big sales kind of rush. And then because so much was dependent on me getting those homes into production, the sales completely dropped off in our second quarter.
Yeah, so the roller coaster effect of home.
Exactly.
It's too much for one person, and something had to suffer at some point, right? Like if you're putting homes into production, well, you can't really concentrate on sales, and that's why we had hired the project coordinator and stuff like that. So now it's a little bit more sustainable and like, I guess, normal pace.
Yeah, so that was kind of a learning lesson for us, which is also, something that at each stage of a building company, you're gonna have to adapt to new things. So one of the things we're also doing this year is we're probably gonna project much higher margins on the actual sales that we're gonna get. So it's a sales drop, but overall, I think we're able to give our clients better service, and we should be making more money at the end of the day. Because last year, net margins were about 6%, but that was on gross margins at around 15. So we run pretty lean. Yeah, whereas kind of our projections of our gross margins right now, we're between 23 and 25. So we have increased some of that overhead, obviously, with bringing new team members on, but the net should work out better.
Yeah, you should be hitting close to that 10%. With a lot of your stuff, of course, magic number for for builders.
Exactly.
All right. So in your target market, so in Quebec, what do you typically type of client you try to work with?
So we're looking for somebody who probably isn't their first home. It's probably somebody who's had a home before, a little bit more life experience, family. They want to get upgraded to another home, and they want to be able to customize that and maybe change the layout and get exactly what they want.
Okay.
So we're not the cookie cutter where, maybe a family who is just starting off or where they are looking for a home, but it doesn't matter. They just need a home. That's not us. So we're really focused on people who kind of know more what they want.
First time move up buyer that's had some experience in what they don't like on their first home.
Yeah, probably a lot more like that.
Okay. All right. And that 475 you mentioned was your average. Where's your breadth of offering? Like where's a starting point and where's like maybe a high-end home for you?
I mean, so if we're looking at basically kind of like we have predetermined models that, clients can pick and choose from to give them ideas, but we have one that's starting at around 300, but we're building a home right now. It's 1.5. We have other homes that are in workflow that are, 1.8, close to 2. So it is a really wide range, but we're seeing our average price for the sales we're doing now. We're closer to 6 to 7.
Yeah. So your revenue is going up per sale and margins.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's really targeting.
That's where you want to be. I mean, really, you can do less and make more.
Yeah, and that's something that our coach with APP really he had to drill it into my head because that's something for me that like
quality over quantity, and it was very hard for Mike to see the number of sales go down because it meant less work, but our margins are higher, so it doesn't necessarily mean we're not making more. So quality over quantity.
And one of the things that we've seen is it seems like the clients that you make the least amount of margin or least amount of money on are the ones that are the most upset with you or the least satisfied. Whereas we have clients where, we had a close to 40% margin at the end of the job. And we get messages from them nonstop, just thanking us. They love their house. They adore it. So it's kind of like, until you actually experience it, you can't really, you don't understand it.
Right. The key, and that's so true. I think when I partner with builders too, I said, look, the goal for us is to deliver you enough opportunities so you can say no to the wrong ones and yes to the right ones and feel okay about doing it.
Yes.
Yeah. And it's really hard to wrap your head around that because when you're in your own, when it's your own business and it relies on you
Yeah.
to make money. When you see those numbers go down, it's really hard to, I guess, trust the process. But yeah, you need to trust the process.
Yeah, and the wrong person, you know, it says, I always say it's a 4 Ps. So it's got to be the right product, the right price point, the right place, location, right, and then the right personality. So you get those red flags with some people, and you're like, you know what?
Yeah.
I've got to design the home, I've got to build it, and then I've got to warranty it for you. I mean, this is a 2-year relationship. I really do not want to have the essence sucked out of me for 2 years by having to work with you. So yeah, you have to politely say no to some people. It's not the right fit. Understanding that you've got a process going that'll fill your pipeline, and you'll have another opportunity. Yeah, very good. All right. So let's talk a little bit more about how would you categorize yourself as a builder? So you've used the word custom a few times. You also have floor plans on your website. So tell us what that process typically looks like.
I mean, I would say that we are custom and semi-custom. We're really custom, where we will go and make a custom floor plan for our clients based on their needs and their wants. And then also we have our plans if they don't want to. Sometimes you don't want to, go ahead and make a plan of your own. We customize the interiors and the exteriors, so they can use our plans, and then they can move some walls. They choose all of the interior finishings, the floor, the cabinetry, everything like that. So yeah, we're custom and semi-custom.
Yeah.
That price point you mentioned, 300 to 1.5 or 1.8, whatever it was. So is it fair to say the lower the price point, you're more semi-custom, and then when you get into the 1 million plus, then you're more of a true custom?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that'd be accurate.
What do you prefer?
It's hard to say, because it's as builders, you want to build things. So when you're building those new custom homes, it's fun, it's a different experience. But then when you have a model that you've built, we might have a model that we might have built 50 times already. It's little tweaks, right? It's not completely the same, but it's generally the same thing. Okay, so you know where the foundation is going to go. You know where a lot of the mechanicals are going to run. It's nice because you know what type of a product you're going to deliver at the end of the day, and you're maybe a little more confident in it.
Yeah.
So it's a trade-off between both.
Yeah, and there's no surprises like, oh no, this stuff doesn't fit here. We didn't put that into consideration. What do we do? It depends, but it's also nice to see a really custom model that we've never done. And it's like, wow, this is so cool.
Yeah, you get kind of the wow factor for sure. Although I remember one of the builders I worked for, when we went from that more semi-custom to higher end custom things, one of the things he realized right away is he had to charge more for the customs, even though the price was going up, because it took more oversight and supervision. There was more opportunities for profit leaks, like you're talking about. You get on site, you're doing rough-ins, like, oh, we didn't plan for this. We have to make this adjustment. I can't go back and charge the client. So I've got to make sure I've got enough margin built in to handle things like that. Now, as far as so semi-custom and custom homes, you do have a model and a spec you mentioned?
We have one home that we completely finished, so we're using it as a model home. We're just about to get it staged and try to get some visitors in there to come check it out. And we have another home that we just brought it to the basically interior rough-in stage. So the carpentry is all done. The outside's completely finished. But somebody can come in and choose their floors. They can choose their cabinets, whereas the other home are kind of locked in with what it is now.
Yep. So you can close that other one in roughly 60, 75 days.
Yeah.
So you need the home right away, and they'll be able to personalize the selections. Okay. And is that new to you now? Is this the first time you've gone into building inventory?
No, actually, it's what we started with. So our first project ever, we had purchased, I think, 20 or 21 lots from a developer. And that's how we had started. So almost all of our homes were built on land that we owned. It was more rare that we would actually build for clients on their own land. So it's kind of back to what we had done in the past. So yeah, we are used to it. It's just
we are used to it, but we kind of changed out.
Yeah.
We saw that we had a specific niche that not many builders had, which is building on clients' lots. So we kind of ran with that. And obviously it's less overhead for us as well, right? We don't have to have the overhead of owning land, purchasing it, and then hoping that somebody buys it,
Yeah.
So we niched out into that, and it's worked really well. And then we kind of, every once in a while, when we see a piece of land that is affordable, which is rare.
Yeah.
We kind of will build a spec home, use it as model home for a bit until it sells.
Sure, like a floating spec. So when you do most of your client meetings, you typically meet at the model home, or do you have an office as well?
So we haven't had an office since the beginning. It's been all kind of work from home or meet clients at their home or meet at a model home. We recently just purchased a building, actually. So the goal with that is we're going to be renovating one of those locals and making that our office towards the end of the year. So that was a big target that we had. But right now it's kind of a lot of phone call meetings, Zoom meetings, meeting at model homes, going and meeting clients at their lot. So it's a little bit of everything right now.
Okay, yeah, very good. Well, congratulations on the building as well, for sure. So you guys so the journey started out as a spec builder. You've morphed into more of a custom builder and build on your site, where most builders are the exact opposite.
Yeah.
You know, they start out building on the site and then they kind of work their way into developing land and maybe building specs or models at the end. So what have been some of the major obstacles that you've run into of getting to where you're at today?
I think the biggest obstacle we had was maybe ending that partnership and then creating this new business. So that kind of confidence, and we were in that business for probably 6 or 7 years. So just to be able to take that challenge and start the new business, obviously we had a lot of experience, but that was definitely a challenge, and going from having a steady paycheck and income coming in and jobs going on to not knowing what's going to go on and
kind of restarting.
Yeah, that was probably
you get comfortable, right? You get comfortable, but then it's not good for you, and then it's just kind of ripping off the Band-Aid and being like, oh man, we have to start from scratch again. Okay, well, can we do it? Are we going to do it? Do we do it? So anyways, we did it and it's working. So
And so what setbacks did you have along the way of going through that process?
Getting the company started, obviously it's, there's financing, there's coming up with money, especially when we had to buy all those lots for the first project. It's just weird. Like we're in a different place right now where I look at a bank account balance and there's a number where I'm like, okay, I don't want to get under there because then we're in scary territory. But then I remember what the bank account balance was before, and I'm like, hey, we're fine. Let's go. We're rolling. Like, we're super happy. So that changes with different stages as well. So obviously getting that financing in place was tough. That was a big kind of stress to know that you have these commitments made and you're not 100% sure if they're going to work or not. But you have to work through it. So those were some challenging times. They went well, obviously. I mean, I think it's kind of the same for every builder, probably in the last few years when those first kind of COVID shutdown happened, especially for us as builders. A learning lesson was we were starting to do some homes for clients on their lots, but myself being very trusting and accepting, when we would get payments from clients, sometimes, the bank only dispersed this amount. So this is how much we're going to pay you. And like, okay, we'll continue work. And I think at one point we had one job that was like 300,000 over that they owed us. Another job was like 75. There was one that was like 120. And I didn't realize how dangerous.
Right. That's you're very exposed.
Especially as a growing company, because, I had those payments coming due to our suppliers, even though the work was shut down. So I've made the commitment to those suppliers. So I have to pay them. Yeah. There are trades, they have mouths to feed. So I have to be more responsible in getting those payments, receiving those payments on time. So that was probably that was a reality check, but we made it through and we've used those lessons better for the future, I'd say.
So Canada did shut down construction sites.
Yeah. Actually, our here in Quebec was the absolute worst out of, I think, all of Canada.
You were the most restrictive. Quebec was.
We were very restrictive.
We had a curfew. Like when we go back in time, we can really go on a tangent and get away from building if we want to talk about that. But
it was absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah, the construction sites were shut down for 1 month. So we were lucky. We were one of the few actual industries that were allowed to go back to work because it was we considered it essential.
Yes.
So, okay. We shut down for 1 month, which was great. We're thankful. We're lucky that we were able to get back to work quick. But that period of 1 month when you're owed that much money and you're not getting money because the bank's saying you're not progressing and they don't want to release anything because they don't know what's going to go on and the clients need to pay, it puts you in a particular situation.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. Yeah. And in the States, it was state by state. So some states, there was no shutdown because it was automatically considered, you need to do this. There were some states that, did shut down like Quebec did.
Yeah. But it was a reality check, and it was actually a lesson for us to actually be a little less lenient with payment and a little less, I don't want to say less trusting because.
Oh, I did the same thing last year.
Yeah.
Even worse. So it wasn't a very good lesson. I'll go off on another tangent as well. We were building a multiplex for an investing group, and we let it get to the point where we were owed over $1 million.
Yeah.
Wow.
And then I put my lawyer hat on.
Yeah. So then when she says she has to do some legal discussions, well, that was an important point. And one of the things that, we learned through that process is if we hadn't have put our legal lien on the building, this was basically like 2 buildings. One of the buildings was actually for sale. And
we didn't know.
If it was sold before we put our legal lien, we would have lost, I think, $800,000 that was due just from that property. So
that was a tough lesson, but now, it brought us to the point where when there is money owed, we do have rights, and we don't have to feel bad for coming in and saying, hey, you owe us money, you need to pay or we're going to shut down the site. So that was a hard thing for Mike too, just as a person in general. He's just a very trusting and very kind person that it's very hard to go and tell someone that, but now I don't think he has a.
I let Vanessa handle that.
Yeah, I'm a mean guy.
I mean, it's an important lesson though, because our clients always want to hold us to the contract, right? But then we oftentimes are lenient and not holding them to the contract. It goes both ways.
Yes,
exactly.
It is a business relationship, and we need to treat it as that.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah. So that was some of your setbacks. How about best decisions? So what were some of the best decisions you made to get yourself to where you are today?
Our best decision was, again, quitting that partnership and going out together. I mean, it sounds very, corny, but we do work very well together. There's a lot of, spouses that don't work well together, but I think we're a really good mix where, he brings in the logic, I bring in the emotion, and we kind of just, work very well together. So that was really a great decision, I would say, is the best decision.
Yeah, I would think so.
So let's talk a little bit more about the Association of Professional Builders. You guys are involved with them. Tell us a little bit about the services that you're currently using.
Yeah, so right now we're in their private mentoring program. Our coach is Clint Vest. So we've been working with them for probably about two years now. It's coming up just about 2 years. I think one of the real keys with working with a coach, like at first I was always a little bit hesitant because I'm like, okay, what do I need a coach for? Like, I'm the boss. I know what's going on. Like, and
apprehensive, right?
It is what it is. But even like the best athletes in the world have coaches. They have somebody that's, cheering them on from the sidelines. And I like the fact that he can take an outsider's look and kind of like
bring it back into perspective.
Where, sometimes, even if I'm more logical, I'll get emotional about decisions. You're in it every day. You're breathing it every day. You're sleeping it every day. Whereas somebody comes from the outside and they can give you that perspective. So I find that I really get a lot of value out of.
Yeah.
What has made the biggest impact on your business since entered into this coaching relationship?
I mean, touching on that again, I would say it's really him reiterating the point of quality over quantity. Because for me, it was always like, okay, it's numbers. Like, I don't care not that I don't care, but the net number doesn't matter as much. But I need to see that revenue. That revenue needs to be as high as possible. Let's sign more contracts. Let's get more going. Where he's really kind of brought us back to a reality of saying like, okay, you don't need to sign 4 contracts if you can have one sale that's literally going to equate to the profit of those 4. So your revenue might not be as high. Your profit at the end of the day is better. You're giving your clients a much better level of service.
And you don't have, you know what I mean? You don't have 50 clients to deal with. You now have 20, but you're making the same amount of profit. So, you know, you're not trying to run around and just try to serve those 50 because you sign them and you don't know what to do. And actually that's what happened also with the sales, right? Like we had too many where we couldn't concentrate on anything else, and then it lagged with the sales. So
sure, then you left you a hole of lack of sales, and now you're playing catch up. Getting through that. I think that's an important lesson, because a lot of times it's, you know, it's sort of a pride thing. And maybe Michael used like, it's like, yeah, we sold 30 homes, or we did 12 million in revenue, and you know, but you're like, at the end of the day, it's like, what was left?
But I made $50.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Going to McDonald's to celebrate, right?
You can only order for two these days for McDonald's for $50.
Exactly.
But it takes the same amount, you know, I always look at opportunity cost too. It takes the same amount of oversight and supervision. And if you tie up your resources with a bad sale, it means you don't have the resources for that good sale.
Oh, absolutely.
Right. I mean, and
so
so
right now thinking about that.
Yeah, you don't, you kind of get so caught in that, and I think you made a good point, Michael. It's like we get so caught up in working in the business that we don't step back and look to work on the business and go like, what am I doing?
Yeah.
You know, I'm going, you know, 100 miles an hour one way, but I got my blinders on, and I need to, step back and look around and go, whoa, I'm missing something over here.
And that's what Clint does.
Yeah.
He puts us back on track and keeps us focused and just back to the basics of what we actually need to continue doing, and the next step that we need to hit, and the next milestone to complete, you know.
Let's talk a little bit more about so new initiative and implementation. So it's not easy to pull yourself out of working in the business and actually force yourself to take the time to work on the business. So you come up with an idea with Clint, or Clint says, hey, you should do this. How do you as a team then implement that new initiative or take that on?
We kind of implement them. We try to have quarterly rocks. So we'll take on kind of a big project for the quarter, either individually or together. And, you know, we might have maybe 2 rocks for the quarter. So we're going to give ourselves that leeway to try to get that done in that period of 3 months. Obviously, if we can get it done a little bit faster, better. Now, one thing that Clint also helped us implement is something like daily sprints. So we'll do something like, 45 minutes a day that you are working on that business, you're working towards that rock. So once we start implementing that, the rocks came to completion a lot faster. And by getting those rocks completed, then everything else kind of got a little bit easier after. So there's some days where I'm like sitting around and I'm like, okay, what am I going to do right now? Like where I'm like, okay, what am I going to do? I'm kind of ahead on my rocks. Like I'm at a point where, you know, I feel like we're starting to get the things that we need in place. There's always more things to go on, but I have more time to think and work about the business.
Yeah.
So that's something, by doing those, by committing to getting that little bit done every day, you'd really be surprised at how much you get done.
Mike had estimating software that basically he purchased and left on his desktop for a while because it was just such a huge endeavor to kind of go in and, I guess, code everything, price code, and make all the templates and everything. And so Clint was like, listen, you need to do this. Do 45 minutes a day, every single day. And I think within 2 weeks he had it done when it was sitting on his desktop for like 3 months. And he was just like, oh God, I don't want to do this.
It's, you know, what's the proverb? What's the best way to eat an elephant? One bite at a time?
One bite at a time, right.
You know, I just chipped away on it and it came together in no time, where when I was looking at the total of it, it was like, no, I can't do this. It's too big. Let me push it off. And it just never gets done. You never improve.
Yeah, very, very true. Very good point. The term I've always uses time blocking.
Yeah.
Yep.
Was I think I noticed that on your calendar when I was actually looking at your appointments. Is like I literally put the time on my calendar like an appointment, and it's sacred, right? It's like I'm not going to change it. I'm not going to double book myself with a client meeting or something like that. It's like, no, I need to do this. Yeah. And it's so smart. Actually, we talked a little bit before the call here today about the EOS, or Entrepreneurial Operating System. 90-day rocks are exactly what that system uses too. Like because too often we say, oh, this is my goal for the year. Then you
Yeah.
start out pretty good, and then you all of a sudden you just forget about it, and next thing you know, it's September, and you're going like, oh yeah, remember that was our goal back in January. Whereas the Rock, it's like, yeah, it's due end of March.
Yeah.
And so you're seeing that progress a lot faster than spreading it out over 12 months. So
I'm very good at that. I'm very good at forgetting what I had to do.
we all are. We've all been there, you know. So yeah, don't feel bad, Vanessa. That for sure, we've all been there. So that's that's great. Yeah. So it sounds like, just to summarize, you know, not only having the knowledge that like a coach or APP brings to the table, but it's also that accountability factor, and just doing that, like I said, taking that little bite every single day, and before you know it, it's gone. That big, you know, mountain is now down to a molehill, and it's like, hey, we conquered it. Let's go on to the next one.
Yeah.
We have you ever heard of the 4 quadrants? Urgent,
yes.
important.
Yes.
Yeah, so your quadrant number 1 is what's urgent and important. That's your fires. That's typically where most people operate, is you just put it.
Yeah.
Quadrant number 2 is something that is important but not urgent. And then you have something that is urgent but not important, and then not important and not urgent. So the quadrant you want to operate in is like what you're doing right now. That sprint. It's important, but it's not urgent. And the more you operate there, the less fires you have.
Exactly.
You can never figure it out. It's like you get to the point, you're like, hey, I'm going to take the kids to the park, you know, 2 o'clock on a Wednesday because I have time to do it. You know, everything is running the way it's supposed to run.
Yeah.
Vanessa, we'll take a little bit a look here at the website, but you obviously, I guess the first thing I'll explain is that you have to produce a website in both English and French, just because that's a law in Quebec.
Well, legally, we don't have to do English.
Yeah, we don't have to do English.
It has
Don't have to do English. Have to do French, but you have both English and French speaking in Quebec. Yeah.
Exactly.
So let's start off with attracting high quality leads and content. But walk us through, you know, some of the content that you have on your site that you think helps you get that lead.
I guess just the headline right away is to let people know that we do custom homes, and that's pretty much what we're good at.
Mm-hmm.
And then we came in with, you know, your system of putting in the buttons.
One of them right here. This would be a lead magnet or a call to action.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. So we didn't have any of those at all on the website. And then you guys were very patient with us because we had to do even more work because we had French and English.
Yeah. You guys have everything, multiple languages.
Yeah.
I think you probably were one of the most complex implementations that we've ever.
Yeah. So not only did we have to do that, but you guys had to do that too. So that was great.
Here's some of those call to actions right down here.
Exactly.
Design, library, schedule, call, planning guide, and then the price quote.
And you know, like before we did implement them, I never noticed them on any other sites. But then when I did implement them and saw that they were working, because I was skeptical at first, like, oh, click here, call us. And I'm like, oh, no one wants to do that. You know, why would you want to do that? But then when we implemented them, they literally worked. And then I saw literally Apple has them. Every huge brand has them, where you scroll and every scroll has a very specific call to action, and it's meant for every scroll, and it makes sense. So yeah.
This is some of your floor plans, and I noticed you guys have 15 plans on your site, and it looks like it's a pretty good spread. So that breadth of offering, that $300 to $1 million plus, I'm assuming that these kind of compromise everything. And I noticed your plans are a little bit more narrow, so it looks like you're building on more lots in Montreal.
Yeah, exactly.
And lots of 2 stories, it looks like.
Yes, yeah, almost zero single story bungalows here, because the thing is, you do need to,
have a bigger lot.
Well, yeah, you need a bigger lot, and obviously you need to dig past the frost line. So most of the time you're doing a basement.
Yeah, so you have a basement, 2 floors above grade, so 1,500 square foot foundation, now you have a 4,500 square foot home, more or less.
Yeah.
There. So you also do, I think, as far as projects, this is where you have some available homes. So this is Arnold Street. I think this is where your model is.
Exactly. Yeah.
and looks like you had 2 more lots there. And then the other thing I like about your site, and I think a lot of builders miss out on this, is bios.
Yeah.
And I don't know why it is, but it's like you're a small business. You're working. It's a very intimate relationship when we're designing and building a home. And like I said, between the design period, the construction period, and the warranty period, it's 2+ years a lot of times.
Yeah.
How about we introduce who you will be working with? So I think it's so important that every builder, instead of having just a generic about us page, which could have been written by some copywriter in a different country, is like, yeah, these are real people, and here's photos, and there's a little bit of bio on here, and I think this is great. How you guys have introduced your team, and it looks like you probably have 1 new team member here.
Yeah, we have to add one of those in. Vanessa's got to get on that.
Yeah, so we'll and let's talk a little bit more about the lead magnets, which I guess we have right here. Now, you brought up a good point, Vanessa, in that do these really work? One of the things, the mistakes we make in marketing and sales is we assume the lead knows what they should do.
Yes.
We assume what our client knows what they should do next. And anytime we assume that, oftentimes we create confusion, and then you get the term paralysis by analysis. I won't do anything because I'm not sure what to do because there's too many. So either there's not enough options or there's too many options. So the call to actions or the lead magnets are all based around 3 questions. Every lead has the same 3 questions. They want to know, what will their home look like?
Yeah.
So they can't visualize it. They want to know how much it will cost, and they want to know where they can build it. And number 1 question again is, what will it look like? So you have your floor plans, which I'm going to go back to here for your models. So we always recommend 5 to 15 floor plans. And this is something you guys already had. A lot of builders we work with, they really have no floor plans on their site. So we'll actually add floor plans to them. So as we go in and look at the floor plans, this is great because now we can see imagery. We can look at, the different plans here. But what do people want to do more than anything else? They want to look at lots of floor plans. So this is probably our most effective lead magnet, which is giving them access to a design library. And the nice thing about this is when they opt in, they're still on your website. We can then get a little bit more information about what location they're considering. And the most important part about this is that we use those same 3 questions to do what's called market segmentation. So we will adjust the messaging based on what they're interested in. So we know if somebody goes into your design library, they're most interested in floor plans. So now I can adjust the messaging to create a compelling reason of why they want to talk to you so they can get their design questions answered. Or if it's pricing, we'll then say, hey, you should talk to Michael to get your pricing questions answered. Or if it's a location, we'll talk to Michael to find your lot or to help evaluate a lot you already own. So you have to be very specific, and you have to tell them exactly what they should do. So if you, again, look at this call to action on here, it's like, hey, complete the form below, get access to your 4,000 plans. And this is called a permission-based or inbound marketing. In other words, they are interested in something, and what you are essentially asking your lead to do is, in exchange for your contact information and permission to follow up, and you'll notice that right down here, by submitting this form, you agree to receive SMS and or email communication from us. Text messaging rates may apply. So they're agreeing to allow you to follow up with them, but they're getting something in return for it.
Yeah.
And it's, I want to know, what can my home look like? And as well as I do, is that they can look at floor plans for hours and they still can't visualize what a one-dimensional plan looks like. They still need to go out and see the model or look at the home or walk through it, but it gives them a starting point. And the most important thing that I try to convey to all of our partners is that when a local lead, in your case in Montreal, when they find a local source that will offer them the answers to their questions, what can I build? How much will it cost? Where can I build it? When they find those answers, they will stop. And if you can keep them on the site long enough and create a compelling reason, they will opt in. And then once they opt in, then it's just a matter of time. It's just a matter of time of giving them what they want, of being a resource for them, of staying relevant with them. And when they're ready, hopefully you're top of mind and you get the opportunity to have a conversation with them, which leads us to the conversion aspect. So after they go ahead and opt in to one of your lead magnets, now we need to convert them into an appointment. And this is where the magic really happens.
Yeah.
So you're out working on the job site.
Yes.
You're doing your rocks, working on those, and you've got a sales assistant working in the background, giving them those compelling messages, creating a reason for them to want to talk to you, then making it really easy for them to book an appointment with you. And when I say book an appointment, it's that phone call. It's just to get them on the phone, be able to go through the qualification process to just understand, is this somebody that's a good fit for you? Are you a good fit for them? Should you go to the next step? Yes or no? And if no, that's fine. We're going to have a lot more no's than we have yeses. But the idea is that I create enough opportunities. So say no to the wrong ones and yes to the right ones. So we have lots of tools you guys have been working with. We've done database reactivation for you. And you guys had a big list of cold leads. I think 1,400, if I remember right.
Yeah, I think we were somewhere around that area.
Yeah, so one of the first things we did is we went back and we shot an offer out to all of those people just to try to reactivate them and re-engage them and get them in front of you. We right now are doing our booking campaigns for new leads coming on the website. We have a referral generator. We're working for you people that are actually in process right now or in warranty. We have an event coming up, I think, for your new model home.
Yeah.
Here pretty quick. And results so far. So I'll just give a couple of numbers and then I'll let you talk about, some of the personal things. So last 30 days, you guys captured 60 leads, 2 a day, which is phenomenal. And you've had 19 of those leads, 19 appointments from those leads from 16 different leads. So it's about a 27% conversion rate. And those were all booked by the lead. Those weren't including appointments you booked. Those were just from the lead. So tell us a little bit more again about how that's been working for you, and how's your day-to-day changed since implementing this system?
Yeah, I mean, for mine, like I said, I'm the one who does most of the sales, so I would be doing the interactions with the clients. And to touch back on that first database reactivation that we had, as soon as it was sent out, we had gone almost 2 sales right away. So that was good because we had openings in our slots for the spring. So that really was a kind of the emotional relief of being like, okay, good. Like, we're going to have that work. It's filled, and then just continually since then, even, it's saved me a lot of time. I do like following up with clients, but like sometimes I'll go to either send them a message or call them and I've seen the AI has already done it. So they've already been reached out to. So I get those appointments booked in. I'm able to talk to them. It's a more professional setting. We had some stuff in place before, but it wasn't that great. Yeah. We did it ourselves.
It was manual. That was the problem, right? You have to manually take time. This is literally out of mind, and it does it, and you get the call. So.
Exactly, and the follow-up, right? Where I would basically the way I would set myself up in the past with our CRM is every Thursday I would spend probably 4 or 5 hours just calling or emailing or messaging everybody back. But in reality, maybe all the people that I was speaking to, if I'd make 100 calls, maybe 10 of those were actually people I should be calling. Mm-hmm. Whereas, with BLC, it weeds out a lot of the people who are just kicking tires, mm-hmm. and it really narrows it down to the serious people that want to book an appointment. They want to speak with you. They want more information. Yeah. And I'm probably maybe being the entrepreneur and as well in sales where I might be over emotional about it. Like, I'm probably super annoying because like Vanessa will be talking to me about something and I'll be like, oh, somebody made an appointment, or, oh, somebody downloaded the lead magnet. Like, but it is what it is.
It's fun to see. It's fun to see. It's an active funnel. And going back to, there's only so much time in the day. You can't be doing everything at once. But I think, going back to your previous thing, you follow up every Thursday. It's like, when should you be following up with a new lead? That's a question. How soon should you be following up the new lead? The ideal time to follow up with a new lead is when they're still on your website.
Yes.
Yeah, because that's when the emotions are the highest and where you can actually convert them. And so that's why we try to book them right off your website. And normally it's within about 4 days that they will book. But the first text message goes out to them in 2 minutes. afterwards. So you guys can't do that. I mean, it's just impossible to be able to always get that message out and always have it the right wording and things.
Exactly.
So
I mean, since we've started this conversation, I mean, I haven't checked my phone, I have it on silent, but I'm sure when I pop it up, there's going to be conversations going back and forth. And right, if you are not involved in that, that's just such a powerful tool, because obviously it gives you time to either work on other things in the business that, those important things that you can advance on, and, or just get back a little bit of your life, right? So
yeah, absolutely. And the pipeline, obviously, now the nice thing is what you have developed right now on your site is you have the client acquisition funnel in place. So now, Vanessa, I know you like marketing. We've talked about this. All right, now I'm going to tweak some of my ads. Now I'm going to maybe put a campaign together. I know if I drive them to the website, I'm converting 3, 4, 5% of those unique site visitors into leads, and then 27% from there are converting into appointments. Well, now it's a numbers game, really. All right, so we want to grow the business. We want to go after a certain target market. You can do all that now, understanding that those opportunity leaks are plugged.
Yeah.
If I drive leads there, I will get results, and ultimately it will turn into contracts.
Yeah.
So very exciting. All right, so we're gonna bring this home, but talk about a couple of things here. So current business initiatives you're working on. I know we talked about profitability a little bit here. You also have talked a little bit about growing the company, adding some employees. So where are you at there?
Right now we have our site super who's going on maternity leave. So we're hiring for a replacement for that. Once that is done, then we will start putting our energy towards hiring a salesperson. We did a lot of our protocols and our breakdowns of what they would need to do, and just like the structure of the position, So that's all done, at least because of the AI. Mike has more time and he was able to do that. So so it would be another site super, replacement site super and a salesperson. And then after that, I'm assuming the next person would probably be another site super as well.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, I think that's the thing here in Quebec. Obviously, our site superintendent, she's a female, and here in Quebec, you can have up to a year of maternity leave. So it's a lot longer than, just a few months off where we can adapt. So it's something long term. And, with speaking with our coach, Clint, when she comes back, we want to be at the stage where we need our 3 site superintendents. So that's why with the progress that we've seen so far with our leads coming in and the quality of leads and communication with BLC, is, it gives us that confidence to start the preparations to hire a salesperson. So all those things go step in step where we can hire that salesperson. We know obviously there's going to be a learning period at the beginning, so I'm going to be there supporting, and then we can increase the amount of sales and homes that we have to build next year to support those 3 site superintendents. And like you said before, it comes down to math, right? So if we know what our conversions are, then we can pump some more money into the marketing for that in order to get those numbers up.
Yeah, exactly right. And the important thing you guys did that a lot of villages don't do is you have a clearly defined sales process. I mean, I know we built the pipeline, so you're tracking that as everyone goes through the pipeline. You can look at what's the revenue projection from each pipeline. You understand your conversion rate from one milestone to the next or one stage to the next. But now when you hire a salesperson, I always say management 101, you cannot manage what you don't measure. So as long as you have a sales process that you are measuring, you can manage that salesperson and you can coach them up and you can help them through bottlenecks and things that you run across. But most builders are like, oh, I'm busy, I'll hire a salesperson, and like, okay, go sell.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, what's your process? And obviously with APB, we talk about production slot selling. We talk about getting paid to do estimates and, upfront incremental commitments from incremental work. And that obviously takes a lot of training and it takes a lot of knowledge, and there has to be a set plan in place to be able to run that. So kudos to you guys for getting that in place first. As we finish up here, I want to talk a little bit about Montreal Children's Hospital. That's, I know, a big passion for you guys. So tell us a little bit about what you are doing there as far as with your business and the hospital.
We do have 2 children. we've always wanted to donate $1 million to the children's. It was just this goal that we had. It didn't really stem from anything in particular. We just feel like children should be supported when, the worst times, and they can't really be out there being children and doing the things that they want to do. So the goal was $1 million at some point in time and some point in our lives. And after, a few years of being in business, we still hadn't done anything towards that. And I was thinking, if we do have that $1 million chunk of change in the bank account, are we really going to be like, hey, let's give it all away? It's hard, right? I mean, you see that money and you're like, oh, wow, like, how am I going to just give $1 million? We really wanted to. So I had the idea of breaking or chipping away at it with every home that we build, that we would donate $1,000. So this way, it's a lot less apparent in the bank account, that big $1 million. But I mean, so far where we're at right now, we're almost at $70,000.
Wow, that's fantastic.
Yeah, so it's really important to us. Every home that we do sell, we have 2 more $1,000 to give this week. We just delivered 2 more homes, and it's just very important to support that hospital for us.
Well, that's so cool, and I love your methodology too. It's like we're going back to eating the elephant, right?
Well, that's it.
Yeah.
When 1,000, how do we give away $1 million? $1,000 at a time.
Exactly.
It's how we do it. But I think it brings you a bigger point of what, being a business owner. Why are we doing this? I remember one time people watched Shark Tank. I think it was Lori on Shark Tank. She always says, entrepreneurs are only people that are willing to work 80 hours a week so they don't have to work 40. I mean, it's like you take this on, but with that, it gives you the opportunity to do things like this. And I think it's also good to look at your business and say, hey, this can be a tool for it's a ministry or something that's important to you, and that it gets you to do something more than just paying your bills, putting money in your bank account, existing. And now you're doing something like this, for your local hospital. It's such a great endeavor for you. So
really important for us to be able to give back. We do support, like our son's hockey team and stuff like that, and the softball team for our daughter, the other local hockey team that's here. But the children's hospital is just very important. Every single dollar that we give and that anybody gives literally goes to that foundation, and it's used for everything in the hospital, for the children's, for everything.
So that's great. Yeah. And for those of you that don't live in Canada, just as a little disclaimer, it is by law, you have to support your local hockey team if you live in Canada.
It is. You have to. It's sacred.
You have to. It is sacred. Absolutely. So let's just wrap it up with future goals.
I see us continuing to grow the business as far as staff, as far as revenue, and increasing the profitability at the same time. So I would think short term, I would potentially think we'd be at a target of probably between 12 to 15 million in revenue in the next 5 years, and we'd have to have the profitability somewhere between 10 and 15%. If not, maybe that revenue doesn't necessarily need to be where it is if we're not hitting those profitability goals. So that's something that we're going to work on.
Okay. Yep. And maybe have that new salesperson and another site superintendent as well in there. Yeah, that's very, very good. Well, Michael and Vanessa, thank you so much for sharing HC Habitation and your stories and your journey. And, I think hopefully be very fruitful for who's ever watching this. And I do appreciate the partnership too. It's really fun to see you get set up, and even though it was a complicated setup, it's really cool to see the results now.
Thank you.
Thank you for your patience.
And thank you for the partnership and the opportunity too. And we're going to do more and more as we get going here too, with events and other things to help you get those goals. But if you or anyone else who's watching this, if you'd like to schedule a strategy call today and find out how we can attract, capture, convert high quality leads for you too, so you can pick and choose your clients and jobs, just like Michael and Vanessa, go ahead and just click that link below and we'll go ahead and get on a call and start talking a little bit more about your business. So until then, thanks very much for watching Conversations That Convert, everyone. Michael and Vanessa, thank you again for your wonderful insight and wisdom, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks.
Bye, everybody.
Thank you.